closer, breathe in the light. Morning hum in the garden high. Every wing has a story to tell. Every root knows how to heal. We listen, we learn, we gather and grow. We're the bees and the wild things know.
Hello, bee enthusiasts. Welcome back to the Attic Bee Podcast. I'm your host, Jody Schramm. Today's episode and each episode this month, as we celebrate Women's History Month, I'm going to zero in and explore the intersection of women and bees, beekeeping, art, and culture. When most people picture a beekeeper, they might still imagine a man in a white suit. But as we know, that image tells only a small part of the story. Because throughout history, and especially today, women have shaped beekeeping, advanced bee science, protected pollinators, built global businesses, and used art and activism to change how we understand our relationship with nature. In many ways, the modern movement to protect bees is being carried forward by women across disciplines. Scientists, indigenous leaders, entrepreneurs, educators, photographers, artists, and environmental advocates. Today, we'll explore some of their stories, not just who they are, but how their work has reshaped science, agriculture, conservation, and culture itself. So let's step into the hive. One of the biggest misconceptions about beekeeping is that women are newcomers to the field. Historically, the opposite is true. In early modern Europe, women were often primary caretakers of hives because beekeeping was closely tied to household medicine, food preservation, textiles, and agriculture, all areas traditionally managed by women. Researchers note that early beekeeping required domestic knowledge systems that women already possessed. By the 19th century, women were publishing manuals and running full-on bee businesses. One example is Eliza Donovan, an Irish-American beekeeper who wrote to Brigham Young in the 1800s, telling him that beekeeping was an ideal profession for women. She found it both a pleasant and profitable business and proposed to teach beekeeping to other women in Utah, just as people were moving further west. Another pioneer was Anna Botsford Comstock, a naturalist and scientific illustrator who became Cornell University's first female professor, and whose 1905 handbook, How to Keep Bees, helped shape modern beekeeping education. So women were never outsiders to apiculture. They were foundational. But their contributions, like so many things, were often minimized or forgotten as agriculture industrialized and professional science became male-dominated. That did begin to change dramatically in the 20th century. If there's one woman who's often called the grandmother of modern beekeeping science, it's Dr. Eva Crane. Originally trained as a nuclear physicist, Crane entered the world of bees almost accidentally when she received a hive as a wedding gift during World War II. That moment changed scientific history. Eva Crane left her physics lectureship and gave herself over to bees entirely. In 1949, she established the Bee Research Association, which later became the International Bee Research Association. She spent more than 5 decades studying bee behavior and biology of honeybees and other pollinators, conducting research in 60 countries on the impact of pesticides, climate change, and other factors affecting bee populations. Throughout her career, Dr. Crane published more than 300 scientific papers and a dozen books on bees and beekeeping, including The World History of Beekeeping and Honey Hunting, which remains a classic in the field. Her work bridged science and culture, recognizing that bees are not only biological organisms, but partners in human civilization. She died in 2007 at the age of 95. Eva Crane's story reminds us that extraordinary things can happen when a scientist follows a strange gift down an unexpected path. The bees didn't just give her honey, they gave her a life's work, and many modern researchers still build on foundations she established. So if Eva Crane laid the foundation, Dr. Marla Spivak built the house and then started handing out the blueprints. She is one of the most influential bee scientists in the world, and she's based at the University of Minnesota. Her research focuses on honeybee health and disease resistance, particularly hygienic behavior, which is a trait that allows bees to detect and remove infected brood. This discovery helped reshape how beekeepers approach colony resilience without relying solely on chemical treatments. Her current research has also included the benefits of propolis to the health and immune system of honeybees, demonstrating that propolis functions as a built-in sanitizer for the colony. In 2010, she started the popular Bee Squad, which is a community outreach program dedicated to fostering healthy bee populations and pollinator landscapes. Dr. Spivak's research has influenced beekeeping practices worldwide and strengthened scientific understanding of pollinator decline. Her work connects genetics, ecology, and sustainable agriculture, showing that healthy bees require healthy ecosystems. In many ways, she represents a shift in science itself, from controlling nature to collaborating with it. As you might have guessed, science is only one way of knowing bees. Another comes from indigenous ecological knowledge. Lady Petch, an indigenous Mayan beekeeper and environmental activist from Mexico, works with stingless bees, which are known as sacred pollinators and have been cultivated for centuries in Mayan culture. Petch became internationally known when she helped lead a successful legal fight against land destruction and chemical pollution being perpetrated by the corporate chemical giant Monsanto. Monsanto was illegally farming soybeans, genetically modified soybeans, in the Yucatan Peninsula, and they were finding evidence of polluted water and people getting sick. Petch rightly argued that industrial agriculture threatened bees, biodiversity, and indigenous livelihoods. In 2020, she received the Goldman Environmental Prize for this work. Her activism reframed beekeeping as environmental justice. For Petch, protecting bees means protecting culture, land, and future generations. Across the world, women are using beekeeping as a tool for economic independence and community resilience. In Kenya, entrepreneur Margaret Mara trains women to become professional beekeepers, helping them access markets and build sustainable livelihoods in a traditionally male-dominated industry. In Zimbabwe, Jackie Gao founded Sweet Mongwe, a honey enterprise that grew from personal necessity into a business empowering rural communities through apiculture. And programs like UNESCO's Women for Bees initiative now train women worldwide in sustainable beekeeping, providing hives, education, and long-term support. So far, participants across biosphere reserves have been equipped with colonies and skills that link biodiversity protection with economic empowerment. It's so cool. These initiatives demonstrate something profound. Beekeeping is not just a form of agriculture. It can be a social transformation. Many women who never kept bees still profoundly shaped pollinator protection. Probably the most famous example is Rachel Carson, whose book Silent Spring exposed the ecological dangers of pesticides and sparked the modern environmental movement, eventually leading to restrictions on things like DDT. Her work fundamentally changed how society understands chemical impacts on ecosystems, including pollinators. And then ecofeminist and scholar Dr. Vandana Shiva also championed biodiversity, seed sovereignty, and ecological agriculture, emphasizing interconnected relationships between humans and nature. These incredible women all expanded the conversation beyond bees themselves to the systems that sustain or threaten them. And of course, not all bee advocacy happens in laboratories or courts. Some happens through storytelling. Photographers and artists around the world have documented female beekeepers as symbols of environmental resilience and cultural renewal, showing how caring for bees often transforms lives and communities. Let's start with Aganitha Dick. Aganitha was born in 1937 in Manitoba, Canada, and just passed away this past July of 2025. Aganitha was an artist who worked with live bees to create sculptural works. She allowed bees to modify objects such as porcelain figurines and athletic equipment by encasing them in honeycombs. Her work explored the interdependence of humans and bees while emphasizing the fragility of ecosystems. She said of her little bee collaborators, "The bees have the skills of an architect." Their ability to construct up, down, and 3 dimensions is really what interested her. And then there's Ava Roth, a Toronto-based artist. Ava's recent honeycomb collection embraces the natural products of beehives by working in collaboration with the insects to add their hexagonal combs as the finishing touch on each piece. She builds embroidery and beadwork inside beekeeper frames, sets them inside the hive, and lets the bees complete the pieces. She described it as a collaboration in the truest sense. It involves careful listening, respecting the bees, and cooperating with them entirely, from the choice of materials, size, timing, and the scope of design. And then there's a poet, not a beekeeper, but a beekeeper's daughter. Sylvia Plath, born in 1932, was the daughter of Otto Plath, a distinguished entomologist who specialized in bumblebees. In 1962, she wrote 5 bee poems, initially titled Bees, in less than a week as her marriage was breaking up. Unified by their subject matter of bees and beekeeping, the sequence reveals a concern with self-assessment and redefinition, both personally and poetically. Scholars have described these poems as one of the great sustained explorations of power, female identity, and survival in 20th century American poetry. The hive is matriarchal. All of its labor is female. And this was not lost on Plath, and it shouldn't be lost on us. Educators today, like Nina Bagley in Ohio, have promoted beekeeping through mentorship, queen breeding, and public education, helping thousands learn practical beekeeping skills. Art, education, and storytelling make science accessible, turning awareness into action. Today, women are entering beekeeping in unprecedented numbers. In agriculture overall, female leadership has grown dramatically over the last decade, reflecting broader participation and influence in land stewardship and food systems. Research programs focused on women beekeepers show increases in confidence, community connection, and colony health outcomes when women receive training and support networks. The hive is changing, and so is the culture around it. Bees live in societies built on cooperation, communication, and collective well-being. So maybe it's no coincidence that many women drawn to beekeeping approach it relationally, as caretaking, observation, and collaboration. The women I mentioned today remind us that protecting pollinators isn't just scientific work. It's cultural work, economic work, creative work, healing work. And maybe the lesson of the hive is this: when more voices participate, ecosystems and communities become more resilient. Thanks so much for joining me today. If this episode resonated with you, share it with somebody who loves bees, nature, or stories of women shaping our world.
As the day settles back into green, let the quiet stay with you. Tend the small things, rest and remember. The hive is humming too. Until we meet where the wild things grow, may you